So while everyone's coming in, I will just tell you about a few things that are happening. So obviously with restrictions beginning to be lifted, we are looking at how to potentially bring this group back to its original form, which was an in-person practice group. So I'll be looking at that potentially for July or August at this point in time. But because these online groups have been so well received, we may also continue running these as well. So we'll have a look at that as we go. But hopefully around July, the actual in-person practice group can begin again, which would be fantastic. In terms of Hypnotherapy HQ, we've got a few things coming up. Trish Palmer has her 4-day IBS workshop, which is coming up late June. I think it's June 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th. And what I believe we're going to do is that she is going to be doing it from South Australia still, but we're going to be broadcasting her upstairs in the HQ space. So there'll still be the ability to do that. And then Ron Guzzard is also doing his training with us late July, which is going to be 3 days. The dates there are going to be July 23rd, 24th, and 25th. That's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That one I'm really excited about because, to have someone of his stature coming along and showing us all those stage hypnosis, rapid hypnosis techniques, definitely not for the faint-hearted. I'm admittedly a little bit scared going into that. Yeah. But if anyone's interested, drop me a line because Rowan is going to be doing an amazing job there with that. And lastly, this is from lovely Rebecca in Perth. She wanted me to let you guys know that Helen Brouard is holding a virtual training for her menopause relief program and andropause. This is a core program and advanced program. It's going to be dates of 25th and 26th of July plus 1st and 2nd of August. So if you are interested, then please let me know. I think 2 full days for $350. And you can also get, obviously, the recordings of that as well. So there's a few things going on at the moment, training-wise, which are really exciting to look at. I think that we should probably make a start.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone, for coming on today, for giving us your time on a long weekend. If you're not watching this from some lovely exotic location, then hopefully this presentation today will more than make up for the fact that you're not away somewhere nice at the moment. And when Gayle and I were chatting about this, and I said to Gayle, would you be interested in doing this presentation? She jumped at the opportunity straight away, and I'm extremely grateful for that because my experience with EFT and tapping is very, very limited, and to be able to have someone to explain to us what it is and how we might be able to use it and to give us a bit of an intro insight, I think is just a great way to spend a couple of hours on a Sunday morning. So with that, I will shut up and I will mute all and I'll pass it across to Gayle to tell us more.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you so much for having me. And again, thank you everyone for turning up today on a Sunday, a long weekend. But yes, hopefully you will come out feeling a lot better after our tapping fun we're going to have today. So what I'll do is I'll bring up a bit of a presentation and just run over some things with you. I'm not really into PowerPoints and reading off presentations or anything. I don't usually work that way, but I've got I'm building my modules for the course, which starts next week. So I'm sharing a fair bit of week 1 with you. So I'll bring that up, run over some things, and then we will get into some hands-on practice because that's really the best way to learn it, is just to run through it with me and actually feel the shifts that you get with tapping. So that will be good. So I'll just bring up okay, can we see that?
I can, yep.
And this is just a news clip with featuring Dr. Peter Stapleton, who has done a lot of clinical research into tapping, particularly with food cravings. So some of you may have heard of her. She works out of Bond University in Queensland. So here's a little news clip. Have a little watch of this.
What's the secret? Melissa, all you need to do is some simple tapping. It's a technique that's been around for several years. Many celebrities swear by to combat stress and anxiety, but it hasn't been until now we've had scientific proof it stops junk food cravings. Now, a 4-week world-first intensive study here at Bond University has just wrapped up, showing participants who tapped certain pressure points for up to 15 minutes every day after looking at pictures of bad food lost that emotional need in their brain to eat it.
They do lose weight because they just lose the desire for that food craving. And not having those foods in their life and not having to use willpower does mean weight loss will occur.
And one of the participants we spoke to today actually lost 5 kilos during that 4-week study. Queensland Health is now in the process of carrying out a similar trial, but for chronic pain. So no doubt more is yet to be learned from this technique.
That is a lot of tapping. Thank you, Ben.
There you go.
Just waiting for this file to come through still. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So the good thing about tapping is that the evidence is there now, the science is there, which is wonderful. So it's gaining a lot more momentum. Okay, now EFT tapping. I have been working with EFT tapping for about 13 years, and I've been a clinical hypnotherapist for 14 years. So tapping's been a main aspect to my practice for the whole time that I've been practicing, basically. And I actually started using tapping before I really became confident with hypnosis. So it was a really great way for me to learn how to work with people more intuitively, and then hypnosis was, I found, a lot easier for me to work with. So I am a clinical hypnotherapist and have been for 14 years. And then throughout the years, I've done training with AMET, EFT Universe, training assistant, matrix re-imprinting, 2 trainings of those, Steve Wells's trainings, and evidence-based EFT trainings. I've done 2 of those as well. So my specialty over the years, which I've found tapping to be a great add-on for with hypnosis, is weight loss especially, and any anxiety-related issues, because tapping is a really well-known technique to reduce anxiety. And over the years, I've had quite a few GPs referring patients to me just for tapping because they've seen how effective it is for anxiety. And trauma, it's brilliant for trauma, habit-based intervention, mindfulness, and coaching. So I've kind of, that's been my main focus with combining those 2 techniques. I'll just read out a couple of quick testimonials, and I asked my clients, these are 2 clients that have been working with me for quite a few years, and they specifically talk about tapping here. So Jackie here says, Time to Thrive's online video sessions with Gayle are a godsend. Before coronavirus, I often chose to do my sessions online, and now they're indispensable. The level of care and intimacy and transformative effects are identical to an in-room session. There are times of high anxiety, and there's no better antidote than tapping, specifically Gayle's specific brand of insight, intuition, support, and warmth. So Jackie actually came to me for tapping many years ago, and she just loves the technique. And over coronavirus, she became extremely anxious. Even though she'd been working with me for quite some years, she got to the point where she couldn't leave her house. So we worked with tapping over Skype. So that was wonderful, and that's helped her a lot. Another one here, Kath, who's a PhD student and works at Monash University. So I would like to provide you with some feedback on how tapping has helped me over the years. Specifically for me, tapping has 2 benefits. The first one is that it's an easy, accessible tool for self-calming. I feel if I'm feeling overwhelmed or extremely anxious, and even if it hits me in the car or at the shopping centre or in a work meeting, I can just tap around my fingers or my head or whatever is appropriate for the setting. For me, it's a fail-way safe to return to the moment and just focus on the now, and this allows me the time and space I need mentally in those few moments. to reassess what I'm feeling and take some actions. Tapping in these situations acts as a buffer, is easy to do and comforting at the time. Secondly, it's been invaluable with processing issues as part of my therapy. If I'm revisiting a painful memory from my past, it can bring up issues and often questions. I sense things visually, so if I tune into that, it can be quite full on. This tapping allows me to calm down if distressed and continue to process things, and I can make the thoughts that I see transform into new ways of thinking. I can revisit the tapping after the sessions, and I find it helps then to reinforce new thinking that I was attaching to a behaviour or memory from the past. Does that make sense? That's quite long, but yeah, hopefully that explains her experience of it, because as she said, she's quite visual, and while we're tapping, she explains to me these visuals that she's seeing, and we literally see these visuals transforming before our eyes, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. So it completely rewires that memory for her. So tapping, I know a couple of you have had a little bit of an experience with tapping. So just a little bit about where it's come from. And it originally came from an American psychologist, Roger Callahan. He brought the stress scale, exposure therapy and acupressure together to create TFT. I don't know if any of you have heard of TFT, which is thought field therapy. And after discovering that he could cure a patient of a phobia in a single session. To this day, phobias are one of the easiest conditions to treat with EFT. Callahan's system was simplified by Gary Craig and gained widespread recognition. EFT has been validated now as an evidence-based approach in many studies, including randomized trials that measure pain, depression, PTSD, anxiety, food cravings. And EFT is part of the group called energy psychology because you work with psychology and energy, and it changes the body's electromagnetic field. And that little bit of info is out of the EFT mini manual by EFT Universe. Also, I just wanted to mention that one of the things that gave EFT tapping a lot of momentum was the Stress Project. And the Stress Project is a project that provides EFT practitioners for free for war veterans. So they believed that acupuncture sends stress reduction signals to part of the brain that is activated by fear. Acupuncture was being used by the US Army to treat PTSD with soldiers post-deployment. So the Iraqi Vets Stress Project is a network of EFT providers giving free EFT for veterans. So that's extremely effective for those guys who are suffering immense PTSD. So let's get on to tapping. What is it? Tapping, EFT, stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. It's a commonly referred to as tapping because you literally tap on the endpoints of meridians whilst focusing on a problem. So I like to call tapping a somatic stress reduction technique. It combines remembering an event, like exposure therapy, with physical stimulation. Tapping's designed to bring the distress down in intensity. So you start by rating your problem out of 10, if 10 was the worst and 0 was, I feel completely calm. You state the problem out loud and pair it with a self-acceptance statement. And the problem can be anything from a negative cognition associated with an event or thought, a limiting belief that you have, like a general belief like I'm not good enough. It can be an emotion like sadness or anger that you begin to tap on, or it can be a physical sensation. You might just feel some discomfort in your body that you start to tune into first and begin with the tapping there. So a lot of clients ask me, why am I focusing on the problem? You know, shouldn't I be not thinking about the problem? But tapping doesn't affirm the problem. It states the truth of the experience and acknowledges it. I think it's really important to acknowledge the problem and accept it for what it is, because when we fight a problem, push it away, resist it, as you know, it gets bigger and bigger. So that's a really important part of the process. And once the psychological response calms down, the stress response is switched off, the client can now think rationally and a cognitive shift comes in, which is a really beautiful thing to see. So the process in a step-by-step way is to, number one, identify the issue. So how's it showing up for you? How do you know you're stressed, or how do you know you're angry, etc.? So just identify, I have this problem. Number two is you rate the SUDS out of 10, the subjective units of distress, that stands for. So 10 out of 10, yes, I feel angry, every day or whatever it is, rated out of 10. And then you say the acceptance statement whilst tapping on the karate chop point, and we will go through that in a moment. So you do the setup statement 3 times. So this is the traditional EFT process that I'm showing you. And then you tap around all of the points whilst focusing on the problem, thinking it or speaking it out loud. Then you do it like after a few rounds, you then check in again and say, okay, what is it out of 10 now? Where is it showing up in my body now? And then do some more tapping on the remaining intensity of that problem. And keep repeating that until it's down to a 0 or 1 or 2, something that's, much more manageable. Let's talk about the setup statement to begin with. So that setup statement that I talked about is, again, self-acceptance and acknowledging the problem, which is really important. So you tap on the karate chop point and you say, even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Now, this is the original EFT model of what they suggested to say, but not everyone can say that. As you know, with clients that come, they're not feeling very good about themselves, are they? So gently approach that with them, and you will just intuitively get a feeling with what to say for them. Sometimes I test them out a bit, and I do just throw in the I love myself statement, and straight away you'll get a reaction, which is a really good, way of seeing where they're at with their self-esteem. So the setup statement can vary. So it allows you to meet the person right where they are at right now. So a more gentle approach usually is the best way to go. Something like, even though I have this problem, I choose to accept that that's where I'm at right now. Or I choose to start accepting myself more. Or even though I have this problem, I know I'm okay. Or right here, right now, I'm safe. Things like that. So you can really be intuitive with what to say, and then you can creep up on the accepting yourself more and the loving yourself more, and start to say things like, even though I have this problem, I choose to start loving myself more bit by bit. Things like that. And then to the point where your client then is eventually really comfortable with saying, even though I have this problem, I completely love and accept myself. So ideally you want them to get to that stage so that they realise that, yeah, I can actually like myself and love myself even though I have all these problems or challenges in my life. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, why would you have EFT in your practice? I just wanted to touch on this, and I actually threw this in this morning because I forgot to add it into the presentation. So a few really important reasons why I think tapping has been a wonderful add-on to a hypnotherapy practice is that it helps you get yourself out of the way. So over the years, I've had my own pretty full-on personal challenges. So it's really helped me to continue to practice because I've been able to tap on myself. And even right before a session, I've been able to tap on myself to just eliminate any stress or anxiety or even physical pain, and get myself out of the way and just be really, really present for my clients. So that's really important. So, literally you can just do one round of tapping so that you're more present and you can put your own stuff aside for that time. It also allows you to be more intuitive with your clients, because what you're doing is you're tapping with them in session. So you're actually putting yourself into hypnosis as well as your client, because tapping slows the brainwaves down and puts you into alpha. And that happens quite quickly. And you can go deeper still as well with tapping. So just that fact alone, that you're in hypnosis with them whilst you're talking with them, your brainwaves have slowed down. So then all of a sudden what happens is you can become more intuitive. Your brain's not busy, it's not in beta, so your intuition works a lot more effectively. And with tapping also, you get really fast results with or without hypnosis. So you can choose to either use tapping on its own or you can integrate it with hypnosis, but you'll still get wonderful results regardless of how you choose to use it in your... There's a nice little spelling mistake. It's really effective online. And you can use it from anywhere. So I had a client a few months back and she was on a train, and we were doing a session and we were using tapping, and she was traveling on a country train. So that was wonderful. We could just, go for it. There wasn't many people around, and we were able to do her session that way. Also, obviously, it empowers your client. So it gives them something to use in between sessions, whether it's managing anxiety, whether it's rewiring habits like stop smoking. It's the perfect tool for them to feel like, yep, I've got something. I've got a tool to use in between my sessions, and they feel a lot more empowered. So specifically for anxiety and OCD and fears, it's extremely effective and it works fast. So I had an 11-year-old client many years ago. That one came to mind because she had a spider phobia, really quite bad spider phobia. And we did tapping for about 15, was no more than 15 minutes, and the phobia was gone. And I checked in with her mum later on, and she couldn't believe the difference. She was like, spiders are my, I can... it's like a friend. I can see it on the wall and it's fine. It's not going to bother me, that type of thing. So that was an amazing, fast shift to see happen. And obviously another big reason why is that the science is there. The evidence is there now, which is wonderful. So you can speak from that, put that science edge on it when you're talking to your clients about it, which is great.
So before you continue on there, I can see someone's raised, or Janie's raised her hand there. Are you open to questions now? Would you rather?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
So, Janie, do you have a question? Is that with the raised hand? No, maybe not. Okay. just check. I can see a raised hand there, but I wasn't sure. That's okay.
Yep, no worries.
Has been lowered. I'll shut up and listen.
Yeah, that's fine. Look, I don't mind at all being interrupted with questions. That's absolutely fine.
Good. Okay.
We'll have questions later, but I also don't mind being interrupted with questions as well. So this is just a little bit of an overview. Tapping enables the client to feel empowered and have a simple way to manage stress and emotional triggers, pain, urges, and habits. The client is able to switch off the stress response and calm the body, changing how the body is responding and the mind is processing the perceived distress. Now they're in the present moment, feeling calm and thinking rationally. A cognitive shift takes place, and now the client can make the change they desire and reprogram the way the body or the subconscious is responding to the environment. By changing the state of being, the client's behaviours and decision-making then will automatically change. So with my creation of Transformational EFT, I've combined tapping, mindfulness, and hypnosis to create this transformational EFT process. And the goal behind that is to transform their state of being. Because when you transform how you are being, the doing becomes easy and the having becomes easy. So just where your attention goes, energy flows. And where your energy flows, life goes. So really just transform that state of being is amazing and extremely powerful. So I'll just run over the process of transformational EFT, which is the basic EFT with my little add-ons and bits in between and combining it with hypnosis. So EFT combines EFT, transformational EFT combines EFT tapping. So you learn, in the training, you learn how to apply EFT tapping to any niche or issue that you deal with in your clinic, covering tapping protocols and dissolving all aspects around a problem and how to reprogram a limiting belief. Gary Craig came up with this idea of a table. So a tabletop is like the core belief, like I'm not good enough or something like that. That's a really general core belief. And then the legs are the aspects or the memories that reinforce that belief. So the idea behind EFT is to chop away at the legs so that then you dissolve, then the table collapses. So example, you tap away on the aspects like certain emotions that relate to that core belief or experiences and memories. So you tap on those certain memories and times and experiences you've had, and then all of a sudden that core belief collapses. Does that make sense? Good. Also, I bring a lot of mindfulness into it. So on the training, you learn how to teach your clients tapping as a mindfulness tool so that they can self-regulate in between sessions and learn how to be more present, right here, right now, and practice that present moment awareness. Also, how your client can continue rewiring their habits in between sessions and using mindfulness that way as well. And in the training, you also learn how to integrate tapping and transformational EFT to different types of hypnotherapeutic techniques. And you also learn some transformational statements, energy clearing statements that I've added in as well. So the process would look like this, approximately like this. You identify the issue, give it the same as EFT, give it a rating out of 10. You say the statement, but I sort of bring a bit more mindfulness into it and saying things like, right here, right now, I can change. So even though I have this problem, right here, right now, I know I can change. Or I choose to stay present. The past is the past, but right here, right now, I'm okay. Things like that. And that works really effectively. And then you tap around the points whilst focusing on the issue, again, how it shows up in your body and describing it out loud. After a few rounds of tapping, we also, and you all know about secondary gain, so we tap on that as well. I like to make a list with my clients of how that problem is actually helping them. And then we tap through all those aspects of how that problem is helping them and break that wiring in the subconscious, which works really well as well. And it works really fast doing it that way too. So then we bring in choice. So choose to let it go. Tapping around the point saying, I choose to let this pass through me. I choose to let this go now. I choose to know that right here, right now, I'm safe and I'm okay. Saying, obviously, whatever's relevant to the problem. Staying present, letting go of the past and the future. And an example of a transformational statement might be, I choose to let go of everything that's not serving me right now, letting go of everything that's not mine. So we learn more of that, about that in the training. So you then continue the tapping rounds until you feel the intensity drop right down and you feel the shift. And then you bring in the positives. So you bring in your why. I get all of my clients to write a why list, how their life's going to benefit with that positive change that they're working on. So then you can tap in the positive choice. As an example, like stop smokers might have a why list of, I want to improve my health, I want to save money, I want to be a great role model for my family, things like that. So we tap around, I'm a great role model for my family, I'm healthy, I'm enjoying better health, things like that. And then at the very end, when the intensities come right down and you've had this beautiful cognitive shift, we just bring in some elevated emotion to really transform their state of being and transform their electromagnetic field. So they can either tap or just hold their hand on their heart and simply bring in the elevated emotion. So bring in gratitude, focus on your blessings, focus on how it feels to have already achieved your goal. Visualize it, feel it. How do I look? How am I acting? How do I interact with people? How do I carry myself? Really elevating your emotion and bringing it into the body. And like you would in hypnosis with creating a future memory, reconditioning your body to a new mind. So that's basically the process of transformational EFT. Now, these are the points. In a moment, we're going to be tapping away on these points. And I can leave that up if you like while we're tapping. So I'll just run over those with you and you can do this with me if you like. Karate chop point. And then we go to the top of the head. Then we go to the eyebrow, and it's just at the end of your eyebrow on each side. You can do both or just one. I just tend to do one side. And then it's the side of the eye. And then under the eye, under the nose or top of the lip, whichever you want to call it, chin, collarbone, just where your collarbone ends, around that area. I just use my thumb and fingers like that, or you can use both hands. There's the underarm point, but I don't tend to use that a lot in clinic because it can be quite awkward for people to use, especially with overweight clients. And then there's the wrist. And these are a few extra ones that I've added in from the traditional EFT points. And then the fingers. So on the inside of each finger nail bed, there's a point, but I just squeeze like that, back and forth a few times, your thumb and fingers on the sides. And my clients love that one because they can do that one anywhere, anytime. And people have told me they've been in meetings, in boardrooms, and they've got their tapping happening under the table just on their fingers, which helps them a lot. So let's have a go. I'm going to get you all to have a stretch right now. So we're going to stand up and we're just going to do a little exercise that's a really, really simple way of seeing how tapping can work. And then we're going to get into the more interesting stuff. So if you stand up, I just want you to touch your toes, but obviously don't force it or anything. Just touch your toes and just notice where the tension is in your body and how tense you feel and whereabouts you can go down to, and notice where the tightness is in your body. And you can stay standing. I'll just pop the tapping points up there again. And we're going to do some tapping rounds. So tapping on the karate chop point. And you can say this out loud with me and just repeat after me. Maybe, Lawrence, if you unmute yourself and you can repeat after me so that I can work along with you and everyone else can follow with you and I as well. Mm-hmm. So even though I have this tension in my body, I choose to accept my body in every way. Even though this tension's showing up in my body, I choose to love and accept my body now. Even though I feel some tightness in my legs or my back. So just focusing on where it is for you. I still accept my body in every way. Top of the head, this tension in my body.
This tension in my body.
Eyebrow, this tightness in my body.
This tightness in my body.
Side of the eye, this tightness in my back or my hamstrings or wherever you're feeling it.
This tightness in my back.
Good. Under the eye, this tension in my body.
This tension in my body.
Under the nose, this tightness in my muscles.
This tightness in my muscles.
Chin, this tightness in my body.
This tightness in my body.
Collarbone, I can feel the tension.
I can feel the tension.
Under the arm, this tension in my body.
This tension in my body.
Wrist, this restricted movement in my muscles.
This restricted movement in my muscles.
Around the fingers, this tension in my muscles.
This tension in my muscles.
Just take a breath. And just do it again and see if you notice a difference. Just bending down, touching your toes. And just notice any shift in that tension or tightness anywhere that you may have felt it.
Hmm.
Can you feel a difference?
I can actually notice a difference, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good, good. So you had that in your back?
Yes. And it wasn't there as much when I leant over again. It had cleared, yeah.
Good. Does anyone else want to share if they felt a difference with that?
I've got a bad lower back.
Yeah.
And so I could feel it as soon as I bent over, and I went, "Oh, it's gone."
Oh wow, really?
I can still feel it, but it was lowering my legs and my hamstrings.
Yep.
Well, I'm full at the moment, but
Yep.
my back was like, "Oh yeah, I'm cool. I can."
Oh, that's fantastic, Julia. That's wonderful.
It was really funny.
Yeah, and
Is that the first time you've done EFT, Julia?
Yeah. I've read about it,
Mm-hmm.
and I know people that do it, and I've just kind of went, "Oh yeah, no." Yeah, so it's the first time I've done it. Absolutely.
wow, that's awesome.
It was really
Now that just
interesting.
shows you how quickly you can get a shift with things.
Yeah.
You know, especially physical symptoms. It's wonderful for that. Melissa, are you okay? You were stretching there.
Gayle, could I ask a question, please?
Sure, Sue.
I just want to ask you, does it matter which hand or if you swap hands?
No, you can use either side of the body. You can swap sides. It doesn't matter. Anyway, there's no real set rules as long as you're tapping.
Mm.
Okay, and is there a time frame how long you would tap on the one place, or do you
So
do it
you would
count,
tap
or?
roughly, they say roughly 7 times on each point. So the way I do it is each time I say the next statement, I go to the next point. So
The Bosch had also asked, do we alternate tapping with each hand? The Bosch, I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly as well. But he asked, do we alternate tapping with each hand?
Well, you can, or you can just stay on the same side. Doesn't matter.
Okay. And can I I wasn't quite sure how to do the fingers. Are you able to
Yep. So you just squeeze the side of your nail bed like that.
Right. Okay.
You can tap on it, but that's a lot harder. So I just squeeze like that instead.
Because I didn't know if I was like pulsating against my fingers or something.
Yeah, well, you
like
can do that, or you can even, if you've only got one hand to use, you can just tap on it on the sides with your thumb.
Right. Okay. Great.
Yeah, but I like to squeeze because I personally like a bit more firm pressure. So I like to do that as well. And like the smokers absolutely love the finger points. It's something to do with their hands, and they can tap away with their hands all the time, every time they get an urge to smoke. So it's wonderful. Any other questions?
Can you hear me? I'm not sure if you can hear me.
We can
Yes,
hear you, Lisa.
Lisa.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry, I think you asked me before. Yeah, I did have a bit of a pain in my neck, and it's just some tension there, and it's gone away a bit, which is great. Yeah.
Awesome. Well done.
Tapping with somebody. Now he tends to he actually plays a recording of somebody doing it, and we just tap on the knees. And so I'm wondering, like, you know, if you're in a meeting or something, does it have to be fingers? Can you tap on knees, or, you know?
Yeah, well, if you're aware of some other acupressure points, you can certainly utilize them. That's fine.
Okay, so they are actual pressure points, though, are they?
Yeah, they're actual meridian points. So yeah, if you're aware of meridian points and you have some other ones that are your favorites, yeah, by all means tap on them.
Yeah, I have a feeling that this guy is just it's just the rhythm that he's doing. Like,
okay,
he plays this music, and one beat's quite fast, which you need to do with one hand. The other beat's quite slow, and then no beats or a different beat, you do both hands or something.
Yeah,
like
I think
that.
I've seen that. It's not EFT, but it's just a slightly different. Yeah, I don't know a lot about it, but I've heard of it. Yeah,
no, that's true. I think the points makes a good point.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Melissa.
For the problem, how long should you actually sit there and tap for? Should it be 10 to 15 minutes of just going over and over the pressure points and asking questions and reassuring yourself? And
good question. So obviously we'll go over that in a minute when we get into the more interesting stuff. But basically you rate it out of 10. And then do like 2 rounds or 3 rounds, and then stop and re-rate it again and just feel the shift. So you'll just feel better. So you'll just know when you've done enough tapping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. You'll just know when you feel better.
You will, intuitively.
Yeah, exactly. And when you feel better, you just say, I choose to let this go now, and finish it off that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, are you right, Melissa?
Yep, good.
Yeah. I just want to ask another question. So can you skip straight to the good bits? Is it necessary to do the current belief?
You can use tapping however you want, because you're not going to do any damage with it. So if you choose to use it as a bit of a performance enhancer, you can certainly just use tapping with putting in positive statements and affirmations. Yeah, for sure. But tapping's obviously designed to remove the blocks that are getting in the way of that first, and then you can tap the positive in. But yeah, you can certainly tap in the positives if you wanted to do that every day. That's fine.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether, you might be completely missing a point there. And I think, as you said, I mean, if somebody comes to you, or even yourself, if you know that there's this negative thought there, it's probably, quite a good. I'm just kind of interested how it works. Like, if you've got this negative thought going on and it feels like you're almost reinforcing it.
Yeah.
Then, you switch and
yeah, that's why I mentioned before, you're not actually, reinforcing that. You're just acknowledging it.
Yeah.
And accepting it. And that's really important. And then you can work with it. So rather than, working against it all the time and having this battle going on in your head, you're working with it rather than against it, which is good.
It's like acceptance and commitment theory almost.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask you a question around that as well? Because, I love ACT as well. It's one of the main things I use, and I'm a big believer in getting people to acceptance, particularly radical acceptance. But as we know, when people come and see us, if you perhaps take drinking or some form of addictive behavior as an example here, quite often there's a few things going on in the background that the client may not be fully at acceptance about, perhaps even in a case of delusion.
Yeah.
How do you get them to that point? You might just, I think I know the answer already. I think you're probably just going to say that you work with what's going to be accepted at the time.
Exactly. Just gently. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people that come are not going to accept it. They're not even going to want to accept the problem. So that's where you just say, right here, right now, I'm okay. Just bring some mindfulness into it to start with, and then gradually, gently move towards accepting it. I choose to know that this is just what I'm experiencing right now. I'm a human being. It's okay. Just things like that, perhaps more just reassurance and then creep up to the acceptance. Does that make sense?
Gayle, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Hi, my name's Talitha. Hi.
Hi, Talitha.
I don't know if you haven't got to this point yet, or perhaps I missed it. But the different points that you used.
Yep.
Is there a sequence that you will always follow, or is each point for a specific purpose? Can you use them individually, like that woman was saying about the knee, or do you have to do the sequence in order to?
Good question. So Gary Craig designed the sequence, as in starting at the top of the head and working your way down. Okay. But you can use any of the points in any order. So when I'm teaching my clients, I just tell them, I don't care what points you're tapping on, just tap. So tap on your favorite points, or if you get a chance, do a couple of rounds of it in the mornings or something like that. So, So
theoretically, if I found that felt really good, I could always use that and go through the sequence, but always use the one spot, and I'd have the same effect as if I was to change the patterning.
I think, obviously if you can do the whole lot, that's great, because each point relates to a certain meridian, obviously, and then a certain organ and all of that. So, example, this is a kidney point, the karate chop, which relates to certain emotions. And this is a heart point, which relates to certain emotions as well. So what I find with clients is that they choose a point that they quite like, and then I'll look up what that means, and it's always relevant to what they're experiencing. So intuitively, we know what points to tap on.
Okay.
Or there might be one that they go, oh, that's quite tender, and then I'll look up what that means, and it's what they're experiencing.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Cool.
Any other questions before we move on?
Yeah. I'll go, Michelle.
Sorry, Lawrence. Yeah, Gayle, that was good, and I love the idea of being convincing for the skeptics to bring it into a bodily difference, so we can releasing the tension.
Good.
And so for a smoker, if his or hers in some meeting and doing the thing with their fingers, would you be careful to advise them to stay, like what would the statement be in that case in their mind? You wouldn't want them saying, even though I'm addicted to smoking, I completely accept myself. Well, I felt that. I felt like, what would be your advice on the mindset or the statement if they're just doing their sneaky one under the boardroom table?
Yeah. So what I get them to do is just tune into the urge that they're feeling. So they might not be saying the set-up statement all the time. Typically, my clients will just jump into the tapping with what they're feeling. The set-up statement's more used in therapy. So I would just get them to say, even though I've got this urge right now, it's okay. I accept myself. And then tap on the urge. Or they don't even have to say that. They can literally just tap on the urge that they're feeling.
Yeah, just bring back to I'm okay.
Yeah, just tap on the urge. It's like a mindfulness practice. Let it sit there. What does that urge feel like? Just be curious and tap through the points, and that way it will just dissipate.
Yeah, and so your thought behind it isn't go away urge, go away urge.
Exactly. I really teach them to learn to sit with urge. It's really important to sit with it, because we give into urge, less than a split second. We are not used to sitting with urge. So I sort of like to teach them that mindfulness of, okay, this is an urge. What does it feel like? Be curious. Just be the curious observer. Where's it showing up in my body? Yeah, it's a bit uncomfortable, but they've got the tapping to relieve that uncomfortable feeling. So then they can just keep tapping through that uncomfortableness of sitting with an urge, and then it releases quite quickly.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's go on to, does anyone have something they would like to tap with me on before we do some group tapping? Or we could do some group tapping first and then perhaps do a demo. Would anyone like to be a subject, even if they've just got a niggling pain or something that's, you know, obviously not a 10 out of 10, because that could be a whole session, but something that's just a little annoyance or something like that.
Well, I could go if nobody else wants to.
Yep.
I'm finding that I keep having a look at the American news at the moment, and I'm needing to get on with some other stuff. So I'd like to tap on that if that's possible.
Sure. Okay.
Going on there.
Yeah, no worries. Good. Excellent. So I'm just going to, I can see you, so that's good. So Lawrence, everyone else can see Lisa and I working together, I assume.
And I guess anyone else.
Yeah, I don't know if everyone can or not, to be honest, because the presentation screen is up at the moment.
Yeah, so I could stop that. I'll stop sharing that for a moment.
Try that. And we should. I think we can see everyone at the same time now, so that should be okay.
Awesome.
And I guess anyone else could use it if they're finding they're procrastinating over anything too.
Absolutely. It's been, it's a great tool for procrastination, because procrastination's usually about fear. So tapping's really effective for fear. So you can shift that quite quickly. So everyone else, tap along with us, because when we're tapping as a group, there's something called borrowing benefits. So what happens is your mirror neurons fire off whilst you're watching and listening to us tap, and you're tapping at the same time. So you're getting a lot of benefit out of it. And also your subconscious will actually process what it needs to in the background, even though you're listening to Lisa's specific issue. Your subconscious will apply it to something that needs to shift for you. So, okay, Lisa, you've got a pen and paper handy, or writing on your computer, whichever.
Yes.
So what would you name the problem? What would you call it? How's it showing up for you?
Maybe a news addiction, or I used to be a journalist, so I kind of find it hard not to get involved in current issues, but it's getting in the way of what I need to be doing. So maybe a news absorption or something like that.
What was that, sorry?
News absorption.
Yep, okay. No worries. So what would you rate it out of 10? Does it affect you daily, or, you know, how much does it?
At the moment, it's quite chronic, so it's like probably a 10.
Oh, okay. It's so hard to find issues that are like a 5 or under.
You want a 5 or under.
Workshops, you know, it's typically higher than that, but we'll go with that, and that's fine. Okay.
Well, if we get it down to a 5, that would be fantastic.
Awesome. Okay. We can always put it in a box and perhaps work on it later on or something. Yeah. So it's a 10 out of 10.
That's
so how do you know that that's a problem? Can you feel it in your body? Like, does it stress you or anything like that?
Yeah, I can feel it, yeah.
Where do you feel it in your body?
Probably in my prefrontal cortex, I would think, yeah.
Yep. Awesome. This is an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's good. So we've got this.
It's like observing the lunatic, and it's kind of, it's fascination with observing the lunatic.
Yeah. And you're right. It's probably an addiction. Like your brain just gets a buzz out of that for whatever reason. So starting on the karate chop point.
Yeah.
You just repeat after me. Even though I have this news absorption.
Even though I have this news absorption.
And I can feel it in my frontal lobe.
And I can feel it in my frontal lobe.
It's 10 out of 10.
It's 10 out of 10.
I still completely accept myself.
I still completely accept myself.
Even though I have this addiction to the news.
Even though I have this addiction to the news.
I choose to be more accepting of myself right now.
I choose to be more accepting of myself right now.
Even though I get absorbed in the news.
Even though I get absorbed in the news.
I choose to know that I can change.
I choose to know that I can change.
Okay, now tapping through the points and really tuning in on the problem, really thinking about what it's like for you. This news absorption. This news addiction.
This news addiction.
Watching it every day.
Watching it every day.
I can feel it in my frontal lobe.
I can feel it in my frontal lobes.
Having to watch the news every day.
Having to watch the news every day.
This news addiction.
This news addiction.
I just have to watch it.
I just have to watch it.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is.
I just have to watch it.
I just have to watch it.
I get totally absorbed.
I get totally absorbed.
I can feel it in my brain.
I can feel it in my brain.
Okay, just take a breath. Now that's a really basic round where we've just focused on the name of the problem. So has that dropped at all for you? Think about it again now. Having to watch the news every day.
Yeah, I feel like it has, yeah.
What would it have dropped to?
Maybe, yeah, a 6 or a 5.
Good. So how do you know it's dropped to a 5 or a 6? What does that mean to you?
I kind of feel like as I'm breathing, I can feel like the breath is not blocking.
Yeah. Breathe easier. Yeah, great. And do you feel like you still have to watch it every day?
Probably. Yeah.
So what's it doing for you when you're watching it? What are you getting out of it?
What am I getting out of it? Yeah, I guess I get a reaction from me. So it's like, yeah.
What sort of reaction?
It's probably kicking off some adrenaline or something like that. Yeah.
Yep. Sure. Okay, let's tap through what you're getting out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Set up statement again. Even though I love watching the news.
Even though I love watching the news.
And I get a buzz out of it.
And I get a buzz out of it.
It feeds my brain.
Feeds my brain.
I still accept myself anyway.
I still accept myself anyway.
Even though I love watching the news.
Even though I love watching the news.
I'm getting an adrenaline rush.
I'm getting an adrenaline rush.
I hook into it.
I'll hook into it.
I still accept myself in every way.
I still accept myself in every way.
Even though I hook into the news.
Even though I hook into the news.
I like that buzz I get out of it.
I like that buzz I get out of it.
It's okay. I choose to know I can change.
I know I can change.
And bit by bit, I know I can let that go.
And bit by bit, I know I can let that go.
Over the head. This buzz I get out of watching the news.
Buzz I get out of watching the news.
This adrenaline rush I get out of watching the news.
This adrenaline rush I get out of watching the news.
I enjoy it.
I enjoy it.
I love all that negativity.
I love all that negativity.
All that drama.
All that drama.
It feeds my brain.
Feeds my brain.
But is it helping me?
But is it helping me?
What's the answer to that?
No, it's not.
Good. Why isn't it helping you?
Because it's just distracting me away from what I'm planning to do.
Yeah, sure. I hook into the news.
I hook into the news.
It gets a reaction out of me.
It gets a reaction out of me.
It gives me an adrenaline rush.
It gives me an adrenaline rush.
It distracts me.
It distracts me.
From what I'm meant to be doing.
From what I'm meant to be doing.
It's a great distraction.
It's a great distraction.
I love being taken away from what I'm meant to be doing.
I love being taken away from what I'm meant to be doing.
Is that true?
Well, apparently, yeah. Seems to be.
It gives me an adrenaline rush.
It gives me an adrenaline rush.
How would I not watch the news?
How could I not watch the news?
I need to watch it every day.
I need to watch it every day.
Is that true?
Yeah, I feel like I do, yeah.
I feel like I need to watch it every day.
I feel like I need to watch it every day.
It stops me from doing what I need to do.
Stops me from doing what I need to do.
Gets a reaction out of me.
Gets a reaction out of me.
My body loves that reaction.
My body loves that reaction.
I love watching the news.
I love watching the news.
I have to watch it every day.
I have to watch it every day.
I feel like I have to watch it every day.
I feel like I have to watch it every day.
But really, do I?
But really, do I?
What's the answer?
No.
What will happen if you don't watch it?
Well, yeah, not much. Nothing will change for, I'll just get on with what I need to do. It'll be better for me.
Yeah. You'd get more done. Wouldn't that be awesome? You'd probably feel calmer.
I would. I
more
feel
positive.
Satisfied with myself.
Yeah, you'd feel a lot more positive in general because, the news is very dramatic and negative. It's designed to feed into our fight-flight system, isn't it?
Yeah.
Designed to put us into fear. But that can be addictive.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah.
It can be entertaining as well.
Pardon?
Can be entertaining as well.
Can be entertaining. Yeah. Will I be missing out on anything if I don't watch the news?
Will I be missing out on anything if I don't watch the news? No, probably not.
You'll always find out what's going on, won't you, somehow?
Yeah.
Do I have to listen to it every day?
Do I have to listen to it every day?
What's the answer?
No, but it feels a little disappointing, I have to say.
What feels disappointing?
Not watching it every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Feel that disappointment. Where do you feel that?
Just behind the eyes.
Behind the eyes?
Mm.
Yep. This disappointment behind my eyes.
It's disappointment behind my eyes.
It would be disappointing to not watch the news.
It would be disappointing to not watch the news.
This disappointment behind my eyes.
It's disappointment behind my eyes.
All this disappointment.
All this disappointment.
It would be disappointing to not watch the news.
It would be disappointing to not watch the news.
This disappointment behind my eyes.
This disappointment behind my eyes.
Is that disappointment a familiar feeling?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Mm-hmm. What does that remind you of?
I don't know. School just came up then in my head, so I don't know. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. So there's a bit of a theme of disappointment here, okay?
Yeah.
And this is where your subconscious has led it.
Okay.
It's really interesting where it goes. You can start with one thing and you can end up with something completely different. So if we were in session, I would keep going down that path. Your mind has taken us down disappointment and back to school somehow.
Yeah.
So we could explore that more. Yeah?
Yeah.
Obviously, if we do that now, it could take another hour.
Yeah.
to finish off the session and perhaps get to a memory that was disappointing. So let's just keep tapping on what you're feeling right now about watching the news. Even though I feel like I'd be disappointed if I didn't watch the news.
Even though I feel like I'd be disappointed if I didn't watch the news.
Maybe I'd be okay.
Maybe I'd be okay.
Maybe I'd actually feel really good.
Maybe I'd feel really good. Sure I would.
Why don't I give it a try?
Why don't I give it a try?
How did that feel when I said, why don't I give it a try?
Yeah, good. It felt very hopeful.
Good. Okay, excellent. Okay. I choose to let this addiction go.
I choose to let this addiction go.
I choose to let this need go.
I choose to let this need go.
I'm going to give it a try.
I'm going to give it a try.
I want to feel calmer.
I want to feel calmer.
I want to be more productive.
I want to be more productive.
It's just the news.
It's just the news.
It's just TV.
It's just TV.
I choose to let it go.
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 Letting 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 it go.
How does that feel?
Yeah, good.
Good. Now bring in something that you're grateful for.
Okay.
Breathe it into your heart. Think of something or someone that you're really grateful for. How does that feel?
Yeah, good.
Good. Now just looking at that, what you thought was an addiction or need to watch the news, what would that be out of 10 now?
Right at this second, I don't feel the urge, so yeah,
Awesome.
it would be quite low. I don't know.
Excellent. That's really good, because I find that quite often with clients is that, you know, we try and tune back into the problem and quite often they can't even find it. So something that they've walked in with that's a 10 out of 10 problem, they can't even find the problem anymore. They can't connect to it anymore. It's quite amazing. Like I had a weight loss client once years back, and we tapped through her favourite biscuits, her urge for her favourite biscuits. So she purposely bought a packet, took them home to test it out. And she had them on the bench and she just could not get herself to want one. So it can be quite powerful. Now, just with tapping, like you just follow where the client takes it. You just keep asking them questions. What does it feel like now? And then, you know, Lisa said disappointment. So you can go down that path. But having said that, it's just really important to tap each aspect down, especially when you're talking about emotions. So say we started tapping on an emotion like anger. Make sure that's right down low before you move to the next emotion that comes up. So just work intuitively. If you feel it's okay to leave that part and keep going with where it's going, that's fine. Or perhaps you might say, okay, let's just tap this anger down a bit more and then we'll look at the sadness or something like that. So you really will be able to work intuitively with your client and just follow along with where they're going with it. And you just keep repeating their words back to them. Make sense? Any questions on what we did with Lisa? Okay, that was really good. That was something different and probably not what we would come across often in practice, is something like that. But I have had a client that's talked a lot about the news and what goes on in the world and how frustrated she gets, etc. So yeah, you'll get all sorts of issues, and tapping has no limits. You can work with absolutely anything with it. Anything that feels uncomfortable or feels like a problem. So I want you all now, we'll do some group tapping. If there's no questions at this point, just write down something that's bothering you, not too intense, just something. Someone might have said something that really annoyed you, or you might have a niggling pain or tension in the body or something like that. Just write that down and what it would be out of 10. Give it a name. You might be pissed off with someone. You might, you know, there might have been a conversation that's going over in your head that bothered you in some way, or as I said, or just a physical sensation that feels uncomfortable. Or it might be something like a phobia. You don't like spiders or snakes or something like that. Or it could be a food craving, but, you know, that's probably something that's better to do as a group that's, you know, focused on just that. Has everybody got something? Yep. Good. So now we will tap as a group, and I will just say some general words and you just focus on what the problem is for you. Okay? So this is, again, just really going back to the basics, just so you can experience a shift with what it is you're thinking about or feeling. Okay, I'll just have a drink of water. You can do the same if you've got some. Okay, so thinking about the problem, how it's showing up in your body, where it is in your body. And you can ask your client as well, especially with pain, or physical sensations, I sometimes ask them, if it had a colour, what would it be? Give it a colour. You can do that with emotions as well. Okay, just writing that down. And let's tap. We'll just do a couple of rounds. Tapping on the karate chop point. Even though I have this problem, I completely accept myself. Even though I have this problem and I can feel it in my body, I choose to accept myself in every way. Even though I have this problem, I choose to know I'm okay. Right here, right now, I'm okay. Good. Top of the head. And you can say it out loud because you're all on mute too. So if you want to, you can say it out loud. This problem that I have. This problem that's showing up for me. I can feel it in my body. This problem. This stress. This issue. I can feel it. It's real for me. This problem that I have. This problem that I'm experiencing. Breath. Just check in with it again now. Notice if it's shifted, if it's moved in your body to somewhere else, if it feels different, and rate it out of 10. Write it down. Just give me a show of hands for anyone that has had a drop in intensity. Excellent. Good. Great. So just take a note of that. And let's do some more rounds. Even though I still have some of this problem, I choose to accept myself in every way. Even though I still have this remaining problem, I choose to accept myself in every way. Even though I still have some of this problem, right here, right now, I know I can let it go. Right here, right now, I choose to know I can change. Top of the head. This remaining problem I have. I can feel it in my body. I can sense it. This problem. This problem that's still showing up. It's okay. This stress, this issue. What if I could let it go? I choose to let it go. This problem, I choose to let it go. This problem that I've got, this experience, I can let it go now. But what if it comes back? What if it comes back? All that matters is now. And right here, right now, I choose to let it go. I choose to let go of everything I can't control. Letting it go. Letting it go. Right here, right now, I choose to let it go. Right here, right now, I choose to feel calm and relaxed. Breath. Okay, just tuning into it again. Noticing if it's still there. If it had a number, what would it be? Just writing that down. Now that was a really brief, simple tapping. Would anyone like to experience the shift they felt? Yeah, Julia? Unmute yourself.
What I thought was really interesting is it kind of takes your brain off on random tangents.
Yeah.
And I've done other processes around that, and it kind of went, oh yeah, pain, pain, pain. And then it went to, you're not your mother. I went, who has chronic back pain? And I went,
yes.
Fascinating.
Brilliant.
And then I started chuckling to myself going, because sometimes I do feel her part, like we had this weird connection, and I sometimes feel her somatics or feel her stuff.
Yeah.
Said, not your mother. And
yeah, that's where you're, yeah, that's great. Because that
control. Woohoo!
Yeah. That's a great cognitive shift, isn't it?
Yeah, it was really interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, it always goes somewhere that's really interesting. Well done. That's anyone else?
I don't know about any. Oh, go on.
Sorry.
No, go for it.
Hi, I'm Melissa. Through that, I felt obviously a lot calmer, but with your tapping, Gayle, I found I actually started to slow my tapping down with how I was feeling.
Yep.
So my tapping was slower and calmer, and then I tended to be in that mindset.
Yeah.
So do you actually tune into clients as such and slow that tapping down? Because you get people with anxiety going quite fast.
Absolutely.
And almost boring a hole in their head, and you can see the invitation.
Yep.
Compared to that slow, and that's how I felt at the end of it. And I dropped from probably 10-7 to 5 because I just really worked with my own intuition and worked within myself.
Brilliant. Yeah, and that's how you work with clients. So some clients you might be, working quite fast, and you're working on anger and something that happened and this and that, and you'll be swearing and all of this and tapping through it, which is great. And like you said, with other clients that perhaps are quite anxious, you'll find that, you just tune into them intuitively and you just slow it down, bring them into the present moment, make it calming. You're in hypnosis and it's beautiful. Yeah. You can get some really quick shifts with anxiety. Yeah.
Yes.
Good one. Thank you. Anyone else? Lawrence?
I actually found that it was, I was having this urge to close my eyes and go inwards during it.
Yeah, and that can happen quite often as well.
Yeah, and I thought, that's interesting. Here I am doing this physical motion of tapping, yet I can feel myself going inwards into that state. So
yeah, sure. Yeah, so that's where, again, you just work with your client and you need to know where they're at. So if they've closed their eyes, you can tell a lot by their body language, but I quite often close my eyes when I'm working with people because it helps me tune into them. But if they've got their eyes closed, just ask them questions. What's happening now for you? What are you experiencing now? What's going through your mind? And they'll tell you.
Do you ever find that people stop tapping and that you're kind of sitting there tapping while they've stopped? How do you, gently encourage them back into doing it? Well,
it's really only happened when they've got a massive shift. So I've had it a couple of times where they've just stopped, and I've stopped as well, and I've gone, asked them, and they've said it's just gone, just don't feel it anymore. So typically that's what happens when they stop tapping. Very rarely I don't know if I've ever had anyone that's uncomfortable with the tapping. People think it's a bit weird, but once they feel the shift from it, they go, wow, that's amazing. Mm. So they might feel a bit silly to begin with or a bit weird, and you can even tap on that. Even though this feels a bit weird right now, it's okay. I choose to give it a go anyway. Just work with whatever they're feeling and experiencing.
It is interesting. It does feel like nothing, I think, almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
I asked a question on the chat thing saying, do we alternate tapping with each hand?
So you can, or you can just use one side. It doesn't matter. I'm just looking through the chat as well now because I haven't done that yet. It's a great technique if you're impatient like I am. So it could be because you get quick results. So it's awesome for that. Yeah, there is so much more than just simply tapping. It's a real, it can go anywhere. It's just amazing what you can do with it. Yep.
Is that a question, Gayle?
Sorry, before I, Michelle, just want to touch on, someone's just said it's also another way of induction perhaps, and that's absolutely right. So if you've done half an hour of tapping, which I typically do in the first part of my session, they're already in hypnosis. So I just quite often just get them to, okay, now you can close your eyes. So we just do some tapping. Okay, just sit back and close your eyes now, and we go straight into hypnosis. So it's wonderful.
I've got a question regarding that too. Do you always do it before hypnosis? Would you do it after hypnosis? And do you do it in the middle of hypnosis at any point?
Not in the middle typically, but usually beforehand. Mm-hmm. Usually beforehand. And then hypnosis is a lovely way to finish off with. Yeah. Michelle, did you have a question?
Oh, yes, you pretty well covered it. Thanks, Gayle. I was going to ask how it's integrated with hypnosis. Like you said, they're in hypnosis. And I think, to me, that's not really hypnosis. Like, for me, if I have my clients like jelly in my hands and you can just mold them what they've asked, that's where I get terrific results. I love trance.
Yes, exactly. I know what you mean. But the facts are there where it's tapping slows the brain waves down, and quite quickly. So there's a machine, you can get a little headband you can put on your forehead, and it shows, as soon as you start tapping, it shows the brain waves dropping. So it's just lovely. But yeah, with the tapping, you can also feel like they're putty in your hands, and you just, guide them through this beautiful process. And then you can, naturally go into the hypnosis if you want to after that.
Yeah, thank you.
Gayle, I just wanted to ask if you can hear me, yes?
Yeah. Hi, Anthony.
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, you've sort of got that script and you've probably been doing it for so long, and you guide them through with that predetermined sort of stuff, and then you were just feeding back what they're giving to you. Like, yes. I don't know much about clean language, but sort of just feeding that directly back.
Yeah, you're just feeding back what they're experiencing and what they're saying, for sure. Right. And then you can, like when you do the tapping course, you learn, you can just use tapping in a conversational way quite often I've just had a conversation with someone through a whole session and we've tapped through the whole conversation, because then you're naturally just bringing down any spikes of intensity that come up through that conversation.
And then periodically checking in on how that feels, and as you said, and then moving on intuitively if you feel
exactly. Just feeding back to them what they're saying as well. Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Now, someone's asked about evidence. There's so much evidence and research on it now. There's not enough time to be, blurting all of that out now, but there's lots on the internet, and also Dr. Peter Stapleton's written a book, The Science Behind Tapping. So there's that there. There's a whole website on the evidence and research as well. So I can share all of that with you. I'll put a little thing together so that I can point you towards some resources if you like, and send it out to you all afterwards. There's plenty of different little things you can show clients, and even those little YouTube clips are good to show clients sometimes, to go, the news, etc., to show that this is actually a real thing.
Sue's also asked, what book do you use to identify the organ and the matching emotion?
I have a chart. Yeah, so it's not a book as such, but I just have a chart which I have just had typed up on a Word document that names the meridian and the emotions associated with that. So I'm happy to share that with you as well if you like. Yeah, good. Okay, so I'm going to share, if I can again. Yep. Go back to this. Can we all see that? So we've had a bit of feedback and some questions, which is great. I just want to touch on, only because I've seen this picture again, physical pain. It's just incredible the results you get with physical pain with your clients. Do many of you get clients with pain? Yep. So you just tune into you don't have to start with a thought or a belief or whatever. You can just literally start with a physical sensation. This pain in my shoulder. Get them to describe it. Is it sharp, dull? If it had a colour, what would it be? Tap through the physical part of the pain and it will drop right down. And quite often that's all you need to do. But if you want to, you can then ask, if that had an emotion to it, what would it be? And they'll usually get an emotion. So the pain, it has an emotional aspect behind it. It might be anger or something like that. So then you can tap through the anger, and then that may go to a memory or something like that. So physical pain is usually just a manifestation of an emotional blockage. Lisa, were you saying something then?
I'm sorry, I was actually just talking to my daughter about...
Oh, sorry. I thought you might have wanted to say
something.
Right. So I just want to go over with you why now why is now the best time to bring this into your practice? And I was planning to create this training for in-person to do, but then coronavirus hit and I just sort of jumped out of my comfort zone to create some online training because, that was a way I could deliver it through these difficult times. And I just thought, I really want to get it out to hypnotherapists because it's just a great add-on to what you're already doing and what you're already specializing in. So, anxiety is on the rise and I think it's only just the beginning. So people are going to come out of this with heightened anxiety and also more phobic, I think. People are going to be germ phobic and things like that. So what a great way to help with that. They're also struggling with habits. I've had a few people come now for drinking. They're drinking more than ever from lockdown. They've created that habit now and don't know how to get out of it. So tapping's a great way that they can, at home, manage their urges and habits and tap through it and also bring their stress down. Obviously, if you run programs, it's a great add-on to your program, so you can extend your programs out. If you run weight loss programs as an example, you can add extra sessions in there to run over the tapping with your clients. And it's just brilliant working online. So if you've had to transition to online therapy, tapping's great. You don't have to worry about internet dropping out or, you know, them being in hypnosis. If you're not comfortable with doing hypnosis online, tapping's a great way to work with them. And also to manage abreactions. So if your client, if you're doing hypnosis and they have an abreaction or something like that, or they're just a total mess when they come in, tapping's the perfect way to just calm that down. Okay, so quite often when people come in and they're just, in tears, they can hardly talk, I just tap. I just say, okay, let's tap. Just tap and breathe. And that's all we do for like 10 minutes or something, just tap and breathe. And they just calm right down. So it's brilliant for that. And it can be applied to any issue. So you can make it your own. You can bring it into your practice. You don't have to, follow certain steps. As Anthony was saying, just intuition, just see where it goes. You have your own way of doing hypnosis and counselling and therapy or whatever it is, and you can do the same with tapping. You can just make it your own, which is great. So it has come a long way. I'll just read this little bit out. With roots in Eastern philosophies, particularly acupuncture, our understanding of how EFT works has been rapidly progressing. Whilst initial explanations focused on the body's meridian system, we now understand that EFT has profound effects on the nervous system, the production of stress hormones, particularly cortisol, DNA regulation, and brain activation. So they've done tests now to show that cortisol levels drop by about 43% whilst you're tapping, which is amazing. And it actually changes the expression of your genes. So that's really exciting. So that's out of the book, once again, The Science Behind Tapping. So hopefully you have a bit more of an understanding of what tapping is and where you could go with it potentially. So I'm running some training starting next week online of a Thursday night. If you wanted to jump on board, give it a go, see where it leads. I'm running it at half price, so it's really a no-brainer. You'll get a lot of content, and we'll run weekly Zoom sessions where we do hands-on practice, have discussion, and really get into the nitty-gritty of it. And you'll learn how to use it for weight loss, how to use it for stop smoking, food cravings, all those specific little areas of tapping we'll hone in on a lot more, pain, etc., and anxiety. So $397 for the training for the 8 weeks. And if you're not there, it'll all be recorded and all the content will be in the private Facebook group. So it'll all be there for you. If you don't have to be, obviously it's better if you can, but if you miss it, it doesn't matter. And there's also an offer of $667 for the training and all of that, as well as 3 one-on-one coaching sessions with me. And that could be just to work on your own stuff, whether it's to grow your business or work on some issues that you have, or just help with how to integrate it with your business. You get 3 sessions with me as well if you choose that package. So if you are interested, and I'm not into the big sell, so I'm just letting you know what's available. And I have a link there, and I'm just going to shut this down in a moment. You can email me at gayle@timetothrive.net.au, or I have a link that goes to my landing page where you can actually book it. But also just give me a call on the mobile if you have any questions or you want to know if it is the right fit for you or anything like that. So I will just drop in a link here, and that is, if you wanted to book, you can use that link, or just give me a call or email me if you want to know more about it or have any questions, and I can guide you in the right direction.
We'll have the replay up within 24 hours as well, and we'll make sure that gets circulated to the email list. So everyone's alerted that the replay will be back up. They can watch that, and we'll have the links there too. So
awesome.
Bev
Any
asked,
more questions?
Yeah, Bev's asked, Gayle, do you ever physically do the tapping on your client or have them always tap themselves?
I have done tapping on my clients, specifically when we're working on trauma. So I have done a lot of training in matrix re-imprinting as well. So I use that technique as well and sort of make it my own. So that protocol was where you tap on them. I've stopped doing that now, and I just find tapping on themselves allows them just to learn it more, if that makes sense. And rather than relying on someone else to be tapping on them, it becomes more natural for them to tap on themselves. So you can tap on them, but typically we tap together and they tap on themselves.
Sounds like an untapped resource.
Yeah.
Can this be used with clients with ADHD as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great way because it slows the brain down. It changes the brainwaves, allows them to focus in and relax a bit more. So, yeah, I think it's a great tool for that. I'm very ADD actually, and I find it helps me with that too because it just calms you down, allows you to laser focus, which is good. Yeah.
Any other questions at all? Carolyn says it's been a very informative session and thanks you for sharing the knowledge.
You're welcome, Carolyn. Thank you. I hope that everyone's gotten something out of it. And look, just if you're curious, let me know and we can have a chat.
Great. Any other questions or comments or observations or insights or dad jokes? Please share.
I've got another question, Gayle. If we started to sort of go down the rabbit hole, and then do you know at what point that ends for a client? Like, if you got someone coming along and, they shift from an issue and then they go into maybe an emotion, they maybe go to something that happened in their past. And if it's keeping on going, do you kind of close it down at that point and then they come back for the next session?
Yeah, it can. So you'll just know intuitively whether you need to keep going. Obviously, you've got a time limit as well. So you can just tie it up with the tapping. You can just put it in a box for, use the tapping to, even though there's more of this to work on, I'm putting it in a box till next time. Yeah. You can tie it up with the tapping. But yeah, you will know when you're working with them intuitively that enough's enough. They've had enough. That's enough tapping for today. And that might even be, in under an hour, 45 minutes or something, you go, that's enough for today. I can tell.
And you've got a client coming in as well, so you need
exactly. You have to tie it up at some point. You can't just keep going and going. So you will intuitively know how to do that, and that's fine. You don't have to fix everything in that session.
Mm-hmm.
But they will have experienced a really positive shift anyway. So yeah.
Gayle, hi, it's Geraldine.
Hi, Geraldine.
I've been doing tapping for years, so
yep.
It's really good having a refresh. But I put on the board there, I do get a degree of frustration when you've got to find the next aspect. So often you've got to find the next aspect, the next aspect, it's like, I guess that's where my impatience is. If I could tap through a whole sequence of stuff, then bang, that issue is gone, I'm happy. Yep. But when I then have to go, okay, it's kind of like this little bit's gone, but then there's this other bit that's it's kind of there, but it's a different kind of angle. So these aspects are really just different angles, and you've got to kind of find all the angles, get rid of all the angles before you get rid of it. And I just sort of, that's where it's not a block, but that's where my impatience does come in.
Sure. And, you could, we all have lots of stuff and lots of aspects around issues that we've experienced. You can do the work forever, really. But what I find is with tapping is that I personally find that you don't have to always work on the memory or the different aspects, because it does have a ripple effect. It does flow on, if that makes sense. So shifting one aspect can help another aspect shift. Does that make sense, Geraldine?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so It's sort of a broad question, but I do find that you can sort of tie things up and not have to work on every aspect all the time.
Yeah.
Hopefully that helps. It's sort of a hard one to explain, but yeah, you can sort of bring in statements, which I do in the transformational training, bring in statements that help to shift the programming and the data that's sitting there in relation, without having to deal with every aspect of it, if that makes sense.
I imagine that if you're tapping into the core belief, then that's where the shift might occur. If they're not shifting, does it indicate maybe that you haven't touched into that core belief?
Yeah, well, if you can tap on a core belief by all means, but then, as I said, there's aspects and table legs under that. But yeah, you can tap on that core belief and just gradually get a shift with it. You know, even though I feel like I'm not good enough, you know, that's just a belief. It's just wiring. It's just programming. You know, I say that a lot with my clients so that they can kind of detach from that identity of it. This is just what I'm experiencing. It's not who I am, if that makes sense. You know, even though I feel like I'm not good enough, what if that wasn't true? It's just wiring. It's just how I've been programmed. So I tend to use that wording a lot. And they go, oh, okay. Yeah, it doesn't have to be my label. It doesn't have to be my story. It can just be something that I can work with and let go of. Does that help?
Yeah.
Anthony?
It's like Clive's classic line, it's not you, it's your mind. I always love that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I say, you know, it's not me. It's just wiring. It's just not, you know, just a program. Anthony?
Gayle, I just wanted to ask, the tapping seems so effective. You collapse problems, or you might build the client up. Where does sort of hypnosis come in where tapping doesn't, or vice versa, tapping comes in where hypnosis doesn't? Or do you just, it's all in the same big bundle?
Yeah, it's all in the same big bundle, really. And it's really up to you of what you like to use and what you feel comfortable with too. So, and what they're presenting with. So you might go, okay, well, your client might want hypnosis on a certain day rather than tapping, or vice versa. So, you know, if they come in an absolute mess, typically you're not going to go straight into hypnosis, so you'll use some tapping. So, yeah, again, you just work intuitively with that and you know, sense what feels right in that moment.
Yeah, and maybe the results you're getting, you may feel you have stronger results using different modalities.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, but quite often I do tapping in the first part of the session and then go into hypnosis at the end and just tie it all together, because you get a lot of information when you're tapping with someone, and that gives you all the material you need to do a hypnosis session. So that's a good way to use it as well. Some days I just do hypnosis on someone, and sometimes it's just tapping. So it just depends on what feels right at the time.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyone else? Hopefully that's helped you gain a bit more insight and maybe have a little shift of something that's been niggling away at you.
Just a quick share, Gayle. You don't have to speak into this at all, but I did my tapping on my binge eating. Like, mostly I'm good, but there's those times that something annoys you, and next thing you got into the bickies or whatever.
Yeah.
And I identified it just in that little rib spot where your stomach is. And during it, then I end up feeling this on the back end, like suddenly this pain in the middle of my shoulder blades. And
wow.
That's like, it's still there. And so would you say to me, like, just keep tapping on that?
For sure. Yeah.
That until it's back to I can't feel it at all.
Yeah, so Gary Craig, I think, had a term called chasing the pain. So it's a similar thing where you just keep following it around your body. So it might be there in your stomach first, and then, as you said, in your back. So you just keep tapping around that feeling in your back, and then it might shift to somewhere else and then completely release. So just keep following it until it releases down to something you can manage.
When our Word document shows up with the emotional thing behind it, I'll look it up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm just reading through the chat to see if there's anything else. No. Good. Okay, so once again, if you are interested in jumping on board next week and giving it a go, just let me know. You can email me or use that link that's in the chat. How did you find it, Lawrence?
Truly fascinating. As a few people have commented, I'm much more involved than what I had thought.
Oh, good.
And yeah, certainly something I think I'll need to give more time to and explore further. How many people here think that they'll probably go back and start using something of this with their clients?
Sorry, what was that?
Just asking how many people here think they might go and start using something. So Greg has, Carolyn has as well, Michelle has. So yes, a few people here that I think are going to walk. Oh, Beck has as well. Are going to walk away and consider how to incorporate some of this. So thank you so much for that, Gayle. It's really good.
Pleasure. I hope you can. As we saw with Lisa, it can go anywhere. So I hope I haven't confused anyone too much either. But please, if you have any questions or you want to catch up on Zoom for a chat about it, just to clarify some things, just let me know. I'm happy to do that.
Great.
Okay.
We'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much again, Gayle. It's been fantastic to have you as a guest speaker and to be able to share something that, I couldn't present to save myself. So it'd be great to have, someone who has some experience and knowledge there talking about that. And thank you again to everyone for coming on a Sunday morning on a long weekend. Really appreciate that. As I mentioned, the next one may or may not be in person. I think we may still keep some of these online ones going for people that may not be in Melbourne. We've had a few people now start to come from interstate and overseas. But also it'd be great to alternate that with some in person so that we can begin to build that community vibe in person again. So yes, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your long weekend, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you, Gayle. Thank you, Lawrence.
No problem.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.